So a little over a year ago, we began worshiping here at Murdoch's, and almost immediately we made this place feel like home. Especially our young kids. Like, I felt like as soon as they got out of the car, they were immediately in the field or on the playground. But we tried to make this place feel like home by putting up the stained glass from the previous building, by having our amazing hospitality spread, which, by the way, the dark liquid is iced coffee or cold brew, not tea. Aubrey learned that the hard way. I was telling Molly there's a sign there now, and just like any place, there's a sign or rule because somebody did something that we have. We also made some changes to embrace the space. Instead of having a projector, we use tablets and our phones to be able to follow up and worship. We sit at tables instead of sitting in chairs like we're in a classroom or a traditional congregation style. But we went to extreme efforts to make this place feel like home. Over during this week, you may have seen Murdoch made the announcement that they are permanently closing, and then let me know that they're also going to be selling the property. And typically during this time we have scripture reading and sermon, but I wanted to use it instead to share with you in the immediate future what's next for us, but more so spend time talking about the vision for the future. What does the ministry and life look like for us beyond Murdoch's and the next year? In the immediate future, we're still going to be here. Just because they're listing the property doesn't mean that we're kicked out. We're welcome to stay for as long as they own the property. And we will do so. We'll stay for sure until they list and probably have a contract in hand or an offer that we've accepted. I already have one agreement with another outdoor worshiping club, Roseville Beer Garden, which we do a lot of our ministry at. But I'm also working on an indoor option for you as well. I say for you, for us. I asked her, I was like, do you think we can go to the doghouse next week? But I think there's too many of us. And so we do have already one place lined up. So in the immediate future, I promise you, we are okay. We have options. We always make the joke too that this congregation we could have to pivot and show worship at a Home Depot parking lot, and you would probably show up, or at least most of you. And I feel that to still be true, that no matter where we pop up, folks would show up, whether it's in somebody's home or in a park or in an area of a restaurant or backyard. And so for the immediate future, we have a place to go. But I want to spend the majority of time talking about something that I have been dreaming of for over 7 years now. It's something that originated while I was going through seminary, and I had this realization that I really have minimal desire to serve in a traditional congregational setting. That's why I love pub theology. It's why I'm willing to sweat up here with you, because I'd much rather be out here doing this than a traditional worship space. I don't have a reason why. There's nothing wrong with that style of worship. It's just not the way in which I feel God is calling us to serve the church in the world. And so I've always been eager and interested in how we can do church different. How we might be able to connect with folks who don't feel safe or comfortable going inside the walls of the traditional worship service. And for the last 7 years, I've been dreaming of this model of a coffee church. And the way it would look is that it would function as a normal coffee shop during the day and during the week, but it would also be a house of worship on Sunday. And that we would bring a lot of our gifts and our skills and what we're passionate about into this business structure to take what we do here and expand it even further, to bridge the gap between the secular and the sacred. And I've been dreaming about this for 7 years, and I've just been waiting for the right time in the right place. And in regards to place, almost immediately after coming to celebration, I knew that this was the church that could do it. You can ask Jen and Amber. I've been telling them about it for the last 3.5, 4 years. So this isn't just an overnight thing. This isn't reactionary to what's happening here. It's something that's been focused for a while. But I've also been waiting for the right time. But almost immediately after starting my call at celebration, my wife and our family started to grow. And I knew the time and energy that it would take to do this would be beyond what I could do without raising two children. And so the timing is starting to feel right. But there was also this third thing holding me back, and that was this fear of failure. To be fully transparent, I'm a very risk-averse person, which isn't ideal for a mission developer. We're supposed to take risks and try new things, and not my initial go-to move. And so I'm very risk-averse. But I also have this fear of failure that we might try something, it might fail, and then what story I tell myself is it will be all my fault. And so I held off. And really deep down, I hoped that this vision, that this dream would go away. And each year I hoped that it would go away and never to be heard from again, but I felt like each year it started to creep up. And about 6 months ago, it creeped up to the point that I could no longer ignore it. And so in the month of May, you may have noticed that I didn't preach that month, and that's because I've been writing the business plan and working on some of the more specific details for what this might look like and how we might get funding for it. When I say that celebration, from almost day one, I realized celebration would be the perfect place. It's because of some of the core gifts that this congregation has. One of those is hospitality. And when I talk about hospitality, I don't just mean the spread of food and iced coffee that's not cheap. But hospitality is about the culture and the environment. It's the way that you feel when you're in a space. And for the last 4.5 years, almost every guest and visitor, every new member that's joined this church, at some point in the conversation, the culture of this place has come up. That this space is unique. It makes you feel a way that a lot of places do not make you feel. You truly feel welcomed and loved and seen and known here in this space. I think it shows up in learning curve when folks who have only been here for 1 or 2 Sundays, all of a sudden are starting to share some really vulnerable parts of their life and their story. I think we can bring that gift of hospitality into the secular world of college. That we can create an environment in which people feel known and seen and loved when they walk in the doors. I kind of envision it that if we have a drive-through, folks who have the extra time would debate going through the drive-through and would rather go inside because they want to feel that culture and that community feels like inside the walls of this college. Another thing we're really good at is justice. We never allow the size of this congregation to minimize or prevent the impact that we make on this community. I think about our ministry partners like Homesdale Elementary, which is a local Title I school, and that every Wednesday we pick up 50 bags of food to ensure that food and secure students have access to meals over the weekend. Or that during the Christmas holidays we fill up reusable bags with as much food as we can fit into it and toss a gift card in there to ensure that they have a warm and meaningful Christmas meal. Or the thousands of packets of ramen noodles that we collect so that students over the summer have an easy meal to make while their parents or their support systems are working. Or the hundreds of dozens of diapers that we collected over the years for Team Life Center. Or all the baked goods and snacks that we provided for Lutherville staff during their training as they prepare for a life-changing experience for all who step on the property of Lutherville. It goes beyond just our ministry partners. I think about our partnership as an RIC congregation in being advocates and resources for other congregations who are discerning and dwelling on whether or not they want to become an open and affirming community like ours. Or our partnership with Pride. When we show up and be in relationship with the folks who attend the parade and with no agenda other than to be in relationship, to be in community with them. But to also offer confessions on behalf of the church, to apologize for the hurt and harm that the church has caused in the past in their lives. And then to turn around and bless them and remind them that they are the children of God, uniquely and distinctly created in God's image. I think we can bring this aspect of justice into this coffee shop. Serving only fair trade coffee and selling fair trade goods, ensuring that the folks who make the stuff are paid properly for their labor. And that we can expand our partnerships with various ministries and organizations in town. I think about somebody like Cypress Assistance Ministry, who primarily focuses on the east side of town, in part that's where they're located, but also that's where there's the great need. I think about the capacity for us to expand over to the west side to be another hub for them to provide food drives and other various collections and meaningful opportunities to impact the community. The third thing, and probably the thing I think we do the best, is inclusivity. And when I think of inclusivity, one of the first things that our minds go to is the LGBTQIA+ community, but inclusivity goes beyond that. it kind of goes hand in hand with hospitality, but this place has always been a place where any and all truly feel welcome. And I think about our partnership with Bethesda over the years, in which we were one of the only congregations in town that they felt safe to bring their adult and intellectual and developmental disabilities to worship alongside us. Because they knew at some point there would be uncontrolled, unprovoked noises that would radiate from them. And instead of death glares, we would embrace it as their way in which to make a joyful noise unto the Lord. And it's not just Bethesda. We have long had folks who are neurodivergent or have intellectual and developmental disabilities that are part of our community, and it just works. It just flows. It's a place where they can truly just be. I think we can bring that gift into the Coffee Church as well. Primarily by being a place that provides equal employment opportunities for adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities, in which half of the workforce would be made up of that. That our staff would be specifically trained to create this culture of inclusivity and hospitality for not just the clientele and the customers to feel welcome, but the staff as well. That we would then become a resource for other organizations in town who are looking to provide equal employment opportunities or to create a more inclusive and welcoming workforce. This is just a very broad vision for you. There is way more details to share with you along the way. But I wanted to start here for you. In part, we were going to have this conversation in a month, but it felt like today was the day to begin having this conversation, to begin painting a picture for the future. The working name for it right now is the table. And the reason for that is because I feel like there's a lot of similarities between the church and a coffee shop. And a lot of it is rooted in the table. That in the church, two of the most critical things that we do are build community and have communion. That we gather at tables, that we are meaningful in our relationships and our conversations. That I don't know about you, but worshiping online was really hard because I felt like I was doing it alone. But whether I'm inside a building together or outside sweating with everyone else, there's something about the community that is created in the church. And what that community does when it comes to the table for communion, where we receive God's gift of body and bread, where we are nourished and sent out in the world to love and serve all who need coming. There's a lot of similarities with the coffee shop. Although nourishment may take form in espresso beans and baked goods, a lot of folks still need that caffeine in order to go out into the world and serve. There's a lot of community that's built as well. I think about all the times when I'm in a coffee shop that I see folks having meetings or doing book studies together or conducting interviews or they're on their first awkward date. I think about the amount of sermons or the books that I've read while in a coffee shop. Some folks like to be isolated, but that doesn't mean that they're still not a part of the community that's created in that space. And all of it happens around the table. And so as we continue to move forward, here's what I need from you. First, prayer. Pray for Rick and Gwen. This has been their home for the last 7 years. And the difficulty of the decision to close this space, I know it's heavy on them. Pray for celebration as we continue to discern and dream what this might look like for us and how we can make this dream become a reality. The third is to realize that in the midst of change, there comes some emotions like fear and doubt and uncertainty and anxiety. And so I'd ask that you would be willing, have a willingness to be vulnerable and transparent with me to share where you are in the midst of this potential change. And the fourth and final thing is to ask the question where you might go. It's at a point right now where the more I work on it by myself, the harder it will be. Whereas the more that we come and join together and work on this together, the greater impact we can have on this community and the quicker it will happen as well. After worship, before learning group, we'll take time to have this open conversation if you're wanting that. I'm sure we'll do more specifics and logistics and timelines and things like that. But again, I wanted to paint this picture for you, for us, as we move. Amen.